Bonjour class, today we're learning about possessive adjectives. We started these a little bit in class today, but now we're going to learn what they actually are and how to officially use them. In today's lesson, we're going to be going over what is a possessive adjective, what is the difference between possessive adjectives in French and in English, what are the French possessive adjectives, where do they go in a sentence, and what are other ways to show possession other than possessive adjectives? How would you say the sentence UCLA's team, for example, in French? So you should be able to answer these 5 questions by the end of our lesson today. So let's start with the first one. What is a possessive adjective? So to start off, we know that an adjective describes a noun, person, place, or thing. So an adjective is what describes that noun. So a possessive adjective describes a noun by showing to whom something belongs. So we see that word possessive, which is similar to possession, which means to have something. So in English, possessive adjectives look like my, your, his, her, our, their. What is the difference between French and English possessive adjectives other than the words themselves? There's one key difference that we have to remember to use the right possessive adjective. In English, possessive adjectives stay the same no matter what they're referring to. We don't have gender of our nouns in English, so it's always my book, my desk, my chair, my house. Always the same word, my. In French, however, possessive adjectives have to be in agreement with or match the gender and number of the noun they refer to. So in English, we don't really give gender to any nouns. In French, we know a noun can either be masculine or singular. And then also if that noun changes from, masculine or feminine, and if it changes from singular to plural, our possessive adjective changes to go with it, just like any other adjective. So for example, the word my, you can have several different options in French. There's a version of my if the object is masculine, a version of my if the object is feminine, and a version of my if the object is plural. So let's look at what those are. What are the French possessive adjectives? Here they are, handy dandy chart for you. So like we just said, my, there's 3 different ways to say it. If you're saying my book, because book is a singular masculine object, you would use mon. For feminine singular is ma, and for plural is mes. Plural, regardless of whether it's feminine or masculine, it will be mes. And then your, if you're talking about you in the familiar singular way, so if you're using tu, masculine singular will be ton, feminine singular will be ta, and plural will be te. If you're saying it's his, her, or its, masculine singular son, feminine singular sa, plural se, our. For our, it doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine. If it's singular, you use notre. If it's plural, you use nos. For vous, if it's singular, you use votre. If it's plural, you use vos. And for their, if it's singular, you use leur. And for plural, you also use leur, pronounced the same way but an S at the end. It's very important. Which possessive adjective you choose depends on the gender and number of the object and not of the subject. That's very important. So if I say my book, it would be mon livre. I use masculine singular even though I am feminine. So that's very important to remember. Possessive adjectives change based on the object, not the subject. So where do they go in a sentence? They always go right before the noun that they modify. So c'est mon livre means it is my book. C'est ton examen, it is your test. C'est notre bibliothèque, it is our library. So notice in all these examples so far, it always goes right before the noun. My book, your test, our library. And because it's singular, we're using the singular possessive adjectives, and these 2 both happen to be masculine, which is why we're using mon and ton instead of ma and ta. Other ways to show possession. Possessive adjectives are the most common way, but there's one other way. You can also use the word de and then a noun or a name to show possession. So you could say, c'est l'équipe de UCLA. Équipe means team. So this would be like saying in English, that is UCLA's team. It's not saying son équipe, it's saying l'équipe de. In English, we put the apostrophe S to show possession. French people don't do that. So you could not say, c'est UCLA's équipe. That is very English. In French, you have to say, c'est l'équipe de UCLA. It is the team of UCLA. Qu'est-ce que c'est la différence? So what's the difference between using possessive adjectives and using de? It's not that one is grammatically correct and one is not. They are both grammatically correct, they just serve different purposes. So for example, if you use a possessive adjective and you say c'est son livre, that translates to that's her book or his book, either one. But if you say c'est le livre de Mademoiselle Rudolph Dieb, that means that's Miss Rudolph Dieb's book. So the difference here is that if you use a possessive adjective, it's not always as clear who you're talking about. If you say that's her book, that could be talking about a lot of people. But if you use de and then the name, that's a lot more specific. You know exactly whose book this is. So they're both correct. It just kind of depends on the context where you are writing. And that is the end of possessive adjectives. We're going to be using these a lot for our family presentations. So review and memorize these as much as possible, and let me know what questions you have tomorrow.